all about Hearthstone, recording live on the evening of October 11th, right after Chiv survived Hurricane Matthew and is all good and ready to talk about some sweet Hearthstone. Of course, I'm your host, of Niger Kolef, and on top of Chiv we have Stefan, who recently wrote a kick-ass article we're going to discuss during the show. But glad to have you join us here in Twitch chat, whoever you are, and whoever made it this evening. How are you guys tonight? Before we start the show,
I'm fine. My graphics card is wonky as fuck. My keyboard got damaged to shit. I'm actually using this whole broke down Dell right now, which the keys are all kinds of fucked up. Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Motherfucker.
Thank you, Matthew. Well, at least you survived it, so that's good. You weren't blown away by a hurricane. We would have had to find another American to bring on the show, and none better than you, man. None better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I had to take care of something real quick. Responsibilities. Other than that, let's see. Oh, yes, and the other fun thing about a hurricane, it's not so much the storm that causes you all the problems. Yeah, it destroys a lot of stuff, but it's dealing with your utilities, your cable company, your internet, and then realizing that all the food you still had left in your fridge is now completely toxic to eating. So
really, that's the thing.
Well, yeah, when your power's out for more than a day, you run the risk.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And of course, you know, I live in Florida. Heat.
Yep.
What the funniest thing is, afterwards, my aunt texts my mother and is like, "Oh my God, are you guys okay?" It was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I just saw there was a hurricane." Like, "Are you okay?" And it's like,
just now.
Yeah, it was like, "Is it hot down there?" It's like, oh. It's like, I love my aunt to death, but there are times where she's the biggest dingbat. When she said something, I was like, give me the phone. What are you writing? Nope, we're having a snowstorm out here right now. Dylan's outside making gangster snow angels and snowmen, and it's a real blast. I live in Florida. We don't get snow. God, it's always hot. So, yeah, it was some trials and tribulations in there, especially my whole neighborhood going down to where the FPL trucks were because they had, like, avoided us for 3.5 days. And it's like, hey, I know you guys don't want to come down to the ghetto, but we're going to come to you until you fix our shit. Surprisingly enough, they got down there within an hour.
So sometimes things work out. But anyways, let's get on with the show. And there are a couple of main topics for tonight. And the first one, of course, is the last call qualifiers that happened over the weekend. Having the European last call happening on Saturday and the APAC one happening, well, just on Monday for Europeans, or late Sunday evening for for America. But we saw probably some of the best Hearthstone we've seen all year, at least in the European qualifiers. If you haven't watched any of the games, do yourself a favor, go find the VODs. Just go through every single one of them, because some of the games there are just mind-blowing. We've been having the last call qualifiers for a long time, and for good reason. We had the most consistent players throughout the year who didn't make it to BlizzCon through a championship, all gathered in, well, not one place but in two separate locations, one in Netherlands and one in Ukraine, but basically playing for the last remaining BlizzCon spot of the year. And for Europe we had heavy-hitting names like RDU, like Hoy, like Pavel, who ultimately won the tournament. We had Stanodachi, George C, one of the breakout players of the year. So fantastic lineup. I know you guys should be pretty content with how the games turned out, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was fucking amazing. I mean, if you look at, like, Pavel, I mean, Pavel, in that whole series there, if you look at it, the best result any player could get in a match was a 4-0. Pavel went 4-1 all of those matches. 4-1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's damn near perfect if you think about it, considering how that setup works. So, personally, this just goes and proves that he is one of the best players out there, and I'm really glad to see that he gets his chance to go to BlizzCon.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially given the fact how his last year's tournament run ended with one of the most memorable misplays in all of Hearthstone.
Oh,
That we still call it the Pavel. You know, the one that you
yeah.
just trade before you kill the Sylvanas and give Life Coach a Doctor Boom, with which he kills you and ends your BlizzCon life. So now we know that Pavel is way better than this. To be honest, we've always known that Pavel is way better than this.
Oh, we
And
have.
the last call on Saturday just proved it. Just brutal slaughter all throughout the bracket. I really thought that RU was going to give him a run for his money at least in the grand finals, but nope.
Nope.
Starting, yeah, 4-1 there.
Dude,
Too.
there was no way in hell RDU was going to win this, and I'm going to tell you why right now. Blizzard went through this whole great promotion thing of naming each year as, this is the year of the Kraken. No, they misnamed it. This is the year of redemption. If you look at what we're getting at BlizzCon, Nyman coming back on a redemption story, Pavel coming back on a redemption story, this is fucking going to be an amazing storyline all around.
So now we only need Ty to actually take the year so that we have his redemption story of almost making it.
Yeah.
So now we know how BlizzCon ends. Thanks, Stefan. Now I don't even have to
spoiler
watch.
alert.
Jeez.
I don't have to pay $40 now. Oh wait,
Now
Yeah, you are.
Like millions of players, millions of people who listen and watch us every day now know how BlizzCon ends. So apologies, guys, to all everyone and all of you. So, but yeah, great tournament. Pavel actually with a pretty interesting lineup choice, going for. He was actually the only one bringing Thune Warrior and Tempo Mage. Everybody else was going for more standard lineups, dodging either of those decks. But he just rolled with it. I mean, the Thune Warrior did fantastic work. Didn't really work for AK Wonder back in what was it, summer? No, spring, Europe spring. He was pretty adamant on the whole Cthulhu Devotion lineup, but didn't really work out for him. Pavel now championing the Cthulhu Warrior to the finals. Great games. I would actually recommend that you go and watch because I was happy about how good the games are, and there are a couple of that you should watch. So if you're listening to this or if you're watching it live, take an oath and write down that you need to watch the Aryu versus Shitano Dashi first and foremost. You will see like Totem Shaman killing Reno on turn 6. This is pretty good. You will watch Pavel versus Hoy. Also great game, and you will see how Pavel almost killing Hoy from upwards of 30 life or something like this. No, he actually killed him, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Watch Ardu versus Bunny Hopper. Especially the Shaman versus Warrior game. One of the biggest displays of restraint and self-control that Ardu shows on his Totem Shaman. Like, if you want to know how to play the Witch Doctor Totem Shaman, this is the game to just watch and learn. And then watch George C versus Pavel, where you will see Undercity Huckster getting double Wind Fury.
Oh my God.
That was fucking insane. So just go watch those games. But
that match made me cry.
Oh, man.
I'm not gonna lie, that match made me cry because I'm sorry, I love Pavel, but I was really rooting for George.
Yeah.
I really was, just because I like the attitude he brings to the scene. I like that flair he's got, and just to watch that, it was like you could hear the rip music playing in the background.
yeah.
It was just horrible.
But speaking of the whole last call, Aryu is absolutely deserving of applause as well. Obviously, he finished second, so he gets nothing. So this is kind of heartbreaking, like, working all year, then getting one win away from BlizzCon, then having all your dreams shattered, so it cannot be easy on him. But he did play fantastically all throughout the tournament as well. And also, while you're on it, go check the interview we did with him, published on GhostGamers.net/Hearthstone. Tom, who is usually a regular, but he's not tuning in due to some family issues, did a quite a good interview with Ardu. And one of the things Aryu is actually talking about in this interview that I want to bring up is he talks about what an HCT preliminaries would look in his dream world. So we're going to talk a bit about this because I'm interested in what you guys think. And Aryu was saying that in the interview, saying that if like prelims need to be more special, right? They don't need to just be like a double elimination, starts on Saturday, ends on Sunday kind of thing that just goes, past everybody's attention. It does feel underwhelming, and I do agree with him. And Ardio's idea actually was that Blizzard should pick like a major tournament throughout the year. So he's giving an example, like for winter preliminaries, you just pick DreamHack. And this is, winter Europe preliminaries, for example. Blizzard picked DreamHack and just bring all the players from the preliminaries at DreamHack, which not only gives, builds the, the aura of an actual major. You have a big brand of tournament that is now supported by the whole, preliminary thing for HCT, but you also have all the players in one place, in one actual LAN event, not just scattered around through 15 different taverns all throughout Europe. And first of all, this brings all the the togetherness of Hearthstone and all the the camaraderie spirit and whatever, because this is one of the most fun things in competitive Hearthstone. But it also opens more possibilities about experimenting with more complex formats like Swiss. That something we have discussed in the past. It's kind of difficult to do when you're running the whole tavern spread things all over the Europe thing. What do you guys think about this? Is Ardio onto something, or is it like too far in a Hearthstone dream world that will never ever happen?
Let me give you three
I'm leaning
letters.
to Dream World because there's a major flaw in this whole plan. One, in order for this to happen, you would have to have equal amounts of big lands in every single region, excluding China, because China's its own special snowflake. But the problem with that is, America is now getting 3.
They are getting 3 DreamHacks. Are you dead? I think we lost Jiv. Oh, that's a pity. Stefan, you were going to say something until we get Jiv back on the line.
I think, I can give you 3 letters that kind of proves why Blizzard's probably not going to try this. MLG. Like, the biggest brand of esports a couple of years back. It's not like they haven't tried to partner up with a ton of people for their big events. They tried this in StarCraft too, and they went broke with that. It's like... and ended up having to buy the damn company. But, well, that was kind of the holding pattern. But anyway, like, it's not like they haven't tried that. And I think I can see why they think it's just too much of a risk factor to invest in more people. It's another chain in the link, and it's another liability ultimately that can go terribly wrong. And ultimately, it hasn't really been in the recent years, it hasn't really been present that third parties is necessarily a good thing. Like, obviously Gaming Paradise is a while back now, but that's a company, big esport company, relying way too much on third parties with no oversight to hold the big events. And
sure, but I think Ardio's point was just like not just having like DreamHack on top of a preliminary, but just have preliminaries instead of DreamHack. Just bring the players at DreamHack. It's DreamHack wouldn't be really involved beyond securing the venue and giving the players a place to play and whatnot. Supplying maybe admins and whatnot. But the idea is to just have all the players in one place, so you can just manage and admin them more easily. So again, we will lose one DreamHack, like one classic DreamHack, but we will get an actual major, kind of like what we have in CSGO. The majors, Valve just pick a major for CSGO. It's like, okay, the next MLG is a major. Here we have $1 million prize pool. And Ardu was also suggesting that maybe Blizzard can just add to the prize pool of the normal DreamHacks, and thus make it to the normal major amount of prize pool. I think it's currently what's the prize pool for the preliminaries? I think it's 20,000, right? Just for the preliminaries, and 88,000 for the championship. So you can have. Oh, there we have Chief again. Do we have Chief again?
Yeah, you have
trying.
Shiv. I'm trying. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's a little distorted, but yeah.
Yeah, it's because I'm on my phone right now. Apologize about that.
All right. Will we have a camera, or should I just?
I'm working on it. Hold on.
All right. But yeah, so, oh, there. Is it? Is it?
It might
final?
work.
Oh, okay. I think
Kind of working.
Kind of working. We'll have to. Oh,
Hold
there
on.
we have it.
I have.
There we have it.
Hold up. It's probably gonna bounce in and out, but give me a second. Yay, technology! Fuck off. My internet provider.
Oh,
Well, we'll see how long it
this
lasts.
is even better than your PC, actually. Yeah,
I know, right?
This is actually better. So sorry for the losing Chiv inconvenience, but yeah,
It happens. Hey, but at least I had quick thinking.
you had quick thinking. If you can just
I
move your
had to go
camera
find a
just
power
a
cable.
bit to reveal more of your head, that would be great. Ah, that's perfect.
Better?
Yes. So Chief, before you, after you disappear, we were talking about with Stefan about how probably won't happen with Blizzard, right? Probably they won't consider, cooperating with third parties to.
I think if they were to do it, they'd have to be evenly split amongst multiple third parties because showing favoritism to one party
this
versus
is
others
something
when there
that
are other
Ardio
providers
said
is a
absolutely.
problem.
Yeah, so for winter,
Yeah.
Ardio suggesting so for winter, for example, you pick DreamHack, then for spring you pick PGL, then for I don't know.
But this only works in Europe, so it doesn't solve the problems in,
Sure.
say, like NA, or it doesn't solve the problem in APAC or all that. That's why I think, it's very much only works in one region and would not be overly good. And then you still get the same problem of now you're going to have to readjust how you're doing the point structuring and things of that nature, because now these major events are being tied to this one specific thing. So obviously having people from other regions coming to the said event is going to kind of diminish it. And I think that's kind of a crappy deal all around. So I don't really agree with it.
I still think, like, if they really want to do it, they can find ways out. Obviously, Europe is the easiest, easiest region to solve, right? Because we have so many tournament organizers of different size and renown, etc. in Europe, right? It's the oldest esports. Well, I shouldn't say the oldest, but the most established esports region for Hearthstone, right? With North America just getting.
It also
right
just
there.
has much better connected for traveling.
Sure, yeah.
It's not
small.
like
It's
it's
small.
not like everyone lives in either Russia or Spain. Like it's basically the case for US, where you're either East Coast or West Coast.
or Austin, yeah. So, but
Austin.
Yeah, but I think, like, for NA we have DreamHack, making more events there now. Obviously, I don't know if some of them will be convenient for the just for the seasonal structure for HCT. So that might be a problem because we only have DreamHack and Onok as majors there. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's basically right.
It kind of is. It's more like a league leading into a final LAN type deal.
Sure,
but yeah.
And we have, like, if they want to cooperate with PAX, they can do something at PAX, right? But again, these are, like, PAX will not change, times and dates just to fit some HCT schedule, right? So that's a no-go, probably. And then
apparently we need to invite this Romanian who's in chat right now.
Oh, if he wants to, I'll be happy. Ardio, do you want to come? Let me check if he
Hold
wants
on.
to
Are
come.
you breathing hard first?
Am I
Because you can't
breathing
come unless you're
hard?
breathing hard. Oh, Nigel, you wouldn't know anything about that.
Breathing hard?
Mm-hmm. And coming.
Let's see if he wants to come. Yeah, I'll try to bring RD on. Fuck it, I want to. Jesus, no. God.
Can you not find him?
I can't, but I'll have to switch Skype chats, and this will kind of break up the whole layout.
No, it won't.
Yeah, it will.
Are you using Studio?
No, I'm using OBS normal.
Okay.
I'll just
So we could just actually get him voice-wise and just put his standard picture that you put up on Gosu in there to fill the blank. Boom, problem solved.
I'll just check if he wants to come. But anyways, to continue the conversation, I think APAC actually is more easily solved than APAC. Than Americas, because APAC actually run a lot of majors, including I think 2 seasons of OGN a year, maybe even 3. And they have majors, I think 2 or 3 majors in Southeast Asia.
Like Singapore.
Yeah, I think they had Singapore, Philippines, and Thailand this year. I'm sure for about Singapore and Thailand, right? So 2 majors, and these are actually run by Blizzard, so they can do what they can be whenever they want them to be, right? To fit an NCT schedule. So this is actually not a bad idea, but obviously there are logistical problems that will need to be solved. I actually think it will be super cool, because one point that RDU is making, and one that I 100% agree with him, is that we don't really know which tournaments are the most important, right? We know, like us three and the guys that listen to the Innervated and the ones that follow competitive scene, we know which tournaments are more important. But a casual viewer doesn't know, because every tournament calls itself a major. Basically, you just need to have a LAN phase, and you're a major. Now we call DreamHack a major, Insomnia a major, Star Series a major, PGL a major. Everything that has LAN finals, we just call it a major. If it has 25,000, if it has a 25,000 prize pool, we just call it a major. And they're just not. This just doesn't cut it, because if everything's major, nothing's major, right? It's kind of like if everybody's good, nobody's good concept.
Which is an ongoing problem that Hearthstone has had for some time, in all honesty. So, I mean, there is some validity to this, but, I mean, there's all... If you go by this route, and then you can't incorporate this to all the regions, then there's always going to be a backlash. Like, well, they're operating under this rule, which might be considered easier, and then there's this, so, I mean... Yeah. There will be a logistic nightmare in it, and there will be somewhat of a backlash from people in different regions over other regions possibly getting preferential treatment. So I can see why some people would actually have an issue with this, but at the same time, you have to weigh, is this better or worse than we are in this current state? And in all honesty, I think it could be better, but you got to work out the logistics first, or else you're just creating another shit show on top of a previous shit show. So...
Yeah, it absolutely.
I don't know. It's something to investigate, though.
Yeah, at least it could be considered. I'm sure they won't make it for 2017, because it will take a lot of planning, and unless they this idea just occurred to them, like 2 months before RDU even brought it up, I don't think they can execute it. I don't think even if that was the case, I don't think they can execute it now in 2017, right? Because a lot of the majors have been set. I mean, DreamHack has all the majors set already, and when the boxes are.
They plan their stuff out like 6 to 7 months in
Probably
advance.
Even a year ago.
Well, actually, they're planned out like a year plus in advance, but we get notified of it like 6 to 7 months in advance. So I mean, there's a reason for this, because people want to attend, people want to play, people want to get these tickets, and so there's a huge rush on it. They just opened up some of the ones for the NA DreamHack now, and we're already going and booking our players and getting stuff of that nature taken care of, because it is that much of a you have to think ahead on this, which is a concept having to explain to some people is a little bit interesting. Well, in this game, we don't have to do that. Well, this isn't that game.
Exactly. Speaking of RDU, he had another good idea, at least that got a lot of discussion on Reddit. He suggested an alternative to the Conquest format, something that I think ECOP named Destiny, and now everybody's calling it Destiny format. So RDU's idea is just, first of all, you can go on Reddit and just Google for it. You should be able, just search for it and you should be able to find it. So RDU talks about this new format that's not oriented around just banning and picking specific classes, but banning and picking specific matchups. And also, deciding whether or not you're on the coin. So this is obviously something that's quite unorthodox, that's never been tried in Hearthstone. And we've seen a lot of weird shit in Hearthstone, including big bans of with 9 decks and, you know, 1 deck with sideboard and all this stuff. But it's kind of something new.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody before has thought of, you know, approaching competitive Hearthstone through the matchup perspective, right? We all think about picking classes in a vacuum, right? And constructing lineups just based on classes. But what Arju is suggesting is just looking at matchups. And he's actually the Reddit thread, which I'll actually link it in the video for you guys later on. That there's also a cool graphic made by a Reddit user which shows how the matchup would work. So if you bring 3 decks, if everybody brings 3 decks, you get a total of 9 different matchups. So of those 9 matchups, each player will get to ban 2. Then you're left with a total of 5 matchups, which are at most 5 games, which is, well, a best of 5. Obviously, you know, quite different again than compared to what Conquest and Last Hero Standing represent. And you know, Argu's reasoning is that Conquest can be a real coin flip at times, and you can just queue into your bad matchups and lose on the spot, you know, despite the ban and all of that. So he suggests that this needs to be done through a tournament system, you know, ideally, which is, you know, will be a great thing to have regardless.
You mean a standalone tournament system for Hearthstone that we've been begging for 2 years that they recently said they're not working on?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think we actually need to have it in game, and he actually brings a point that this can actually be done.
Don't care about it being in game. We just need it off game, though.
Yeah, we if we get it off game, and he said that he gives an example that this can actually be done on tournaments that run open cups all the time, like Strifefire, Battlefy. Blizzard can work with those third-party platforms to design and make available such a matchup pick banning system, right? Obviously, this adds a layer of complexity to the game, so it will.
It does add some complexity. I mean, you look at the history of Hearthstone. Okay, so you got Last Hero Standing that had a whole specific like pick ban strategies for that, as also like which classes were more ideal to always lead off with, and so on and so on. So there was a meta within that. You look at Conquest, there's a somewhat of a meta with that, even though, you know, flipping a coin or rolling a dice to determine which decks you were going to play seemed to work out just as well. And now this one could also lead to some interesting ways of thinking about how you approach the tournament. So I do like that because it adds more depth. It adds more just a cerebral component to the game, more of it, and less so much of, hey, I rolled a dice, it said I'm playing this deck, here, let's go win. So I do like that. It does give a little bit more legitimacy to it as a sport. I have to agree. It sounds like a really good idea. Though I do think there might be some interesting aspects in there, again, with the coin thing. And it's kind of almost impossible to make it to where you can determine who's going to get coin.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we don't have... Like, in chess, it's pretty common that that it's decided from start who gets white in each matchup, in each part of the game. Like, it's a pretty common part of sports in general that this kind of stuff is decided, but we don't have the technology right now to dictate that. It's purely random for any match. So
they could, though. They honestly could, because if you think about how you have to queue up for your matches in Hearthstone for even an event, right? So you have to add the person on there, and then you invite to a game.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, before the game, there could be a whole little system of, you know, who's going to get the coin. Now, you could do it a whole little odd even thing, you know, where one person, you know, puts in either a 1 or a 2, and you predict which one is going to be, either an odd number or an even number or whatever. And
random, but yes.
It is kind of random, but I mean, just for like off-tournament stuff. But if you're doing a pure tournament one, then you say, okay, you're going to get the coin. Both of you hit 2 right now. Boom. Oh, look at that. You get the coin. So, I mean, that's a simple way of implementing in there. I mean, it would require a little bit of work, but in all honesty, in considering... Okay, it would require a
it's-
little bit of work and a little bit of graphics and all that. And, this is also the same company that can't make that damn spinning thing fucking not glitch up every 5 seconds. So, there might be a problem with that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the other things. As much as I like the format, at least I want to see it tried and experimented with.
Yeah, sure.
Before
but-
it hits HCT, right? Before it's even considered for ACT or other tournaments, like Batstone would be a cool place to test it, right? Because Firebat has already said that he wants to have this as a series of tournaments, not just have it as a one-time thing. So, Challenge Stone, if we ever see it back, Batstone, any of those, I think this is the perfect time to test and see how it goes. Because on paper it sounds nice, but one other hurdle that I think it might encounter is that it will become too foreign to casual viewers, right?
Yeah,
Casual
that's-
viewers only
Yeah.
thing.
That's the second big issue I have with this format. That yes, it violates the KISS principle badly, and for those of you who've never done managing, the KISS principle is basically keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in the military, this is the first thing they teach you.
Yeah, well, also that. So, basically, if you can't explain it to a viewer very quickly, then it's too complex. And another thing I've said about formats is formats work on the aperture principle. There is no perfection. It's always chasing, and basically the best format is the next one, because when you keep using the same one, it just gets stale. However, on the back of this principle, we can also deduce that it's just pointless to try and search for this unicorn format that solves everything, because it doesn't exist, and there's already a thread on Reddit that also kind of highlights the other big problem, which is it encourages very binary decks like Freeze Mage and combo decks, because they have very limited but very definitive breaking matchups, and that's, I don't know, like those are decks that I'm not really. I don't want to see entire tournaments driven by those decks. I really don't. They are not.
Yeah,
particular.
I think we already lived through that already during the age of everything is Face Hunter. So, yeah, I could definitely agree with you there, Sumidin. We've already lived through those ages way too many times, and we're still living through it because everything's still Shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least Shaman has normal matches, right? Like, but if you look at Freeze Mage, it will always lose to Control Warrior. It will always beat. It will always be Miracle Rock, for example. This is too binary for, I think, for competitive Hearthstone at times and types. I enjoy watching Freeze Mage games because they're I just love control decks, man. It's fun, but from the
most
start,
matchups in Hearthstone are like 66 to 33 favorability wise. But when you get to some of these, and the one you highlighted there with Freeze Mage versus Control Warrior, that's like 90-10.
Unless you're laughing, maybe it's like
Laughing is the 10 every time. So he is the exception, the anomaly, the god of freeze. Oh my god.
He absolutely is, man. But yeah, so it's really an interesting idea. I don't think this is something Wizards will ever consider because, again, they've always been all about simplicity and how the casual viewer will relate to this. Like, for fuck's sake, this is why Conquest was introduced, right? They wanted to basically take the experience from ladder and bring it in tournaments, so people are like, oh yeah, I queue random decks into other random decks, and these players do the same, so I can relate to that. But what are you suggesting is vastly different. It's not even like it's beyond last year's. I think it's beyond any other tournament. Like even if you consider PGL's 9-deck format or Vygame's the 9-deck format, whatever, the only thing that's unique to it that you don't see on ladder is the pick ban phase, right? Once this is done, it's still Conquest with 5 decks, and you still queue, random decks into other random
Conquest
decks.
and Last Two Standing is just, they are each other's opposite. It's just decider who gets to change decks when it wins,
Yep.
You win in Conquest, it's the winner that changes deck. You win in Last Two Standing, loser changes decks. They're just each other's opposite. And, there's still a lot that can be done. Like Conquest is, still the most solid format when you are dealing with card pool altering conditions. Like Highlander, the good old there was a challenge zone a while back that had one class Highlander. Like, you 100% need to pair that with Conquest, because if you don't and play Last Hero Standing, you're just gonna have players front load one deck with all the good cards and then not care about the rest of the deck. It just becomes a flagship format. So in that sense, Conquest is the most solid for shenanigans, but if you're just gonna use it for the classic standard full on constructed, then it's just gonna get stale. But it still has its strength in those added dimensions. So,
moving on to different topics. But before I do, go check out both topics, both the RDU interview he did with us and RDU's thread on Reddit. Even if some of the things he talks are a bit far off, they're at least worth your time, I guarantee it. So go check them out. But
it's good to think of future possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, every time somebody suggests something out there, I'm like, yes, let's do it, because I've seen too many Conquest and too many Last Hero Standing matches, right? If I could see different format every week, I would be the happiest Hearthstone journalist of all time, right? I just want to see something new. I don't think this will fit the HCT system, to be honest, right? It sounds cool, but I don't think it will work in the HCT, because it will need a lot of investment in terms of either building a site, Blizzard site, that can do that, or working with so many third-party organizers to teach them and to have them build this. And then it begs the question, like, who will get it and who will not get it. Like, can Ghost Gamers get it but not Strive War, or the other way around? It adds too much, it's too many variables and too many unknowns for this to work. But yeah, it's certainly fun to think about it. At least something that can be tried in cool tournaments like Bad Storm or Challenge Town. But to round out the last call topic, APAC, as we mentioned, also had its last call tournament on Monday, and Korea won again. So this is 4 straight victories for Korea in the APAC region. Definitely the dominant, country. If that's not
surprising,
a
surprise. This year, dominant this year,
this year, right? Obviously, but OGN, their major did a lot for them. The country developed a lot in terms of power in the Hearthstone scene. They were kind of weak in its early days, but isn't every scene. Now they've grown to basically stomp everybody. I mean, not even Taiwan is on their level, right? Actually, Taiwan will not get a single representative at BlizzCon. This is the first time actually that Taiwan is not getting a representative at BlizzCon. They had 2, I think.
Damn you, Tom!
Yeah, man, Tom got slaughtered, despite being the heavy favorite. And Cheon Su,
he was.
Cheon Su, a player I do not really know much about, ended up winning the whole thing. Played against Dansoku from Japan in the finals. I was kind of disappointed that Aaron, my boy from Singapore, couldn't make it through, or Tom couldn't make it through. Lojam, even, who finished second in the Invent Invitational, that Caster should have researched. So do your job next time. Couldn't make it through as well, but yeah. Overall, quite an interesting tournament. I saw about 6 of the 8 matches, because the first 2 started way too early for European time. I don't know if you guys paid attention, but it's aggro heaven there, guys. It's aggro heaven. Like, holy shit. Because I spent the entire weekend watching Last Call Europe and WSG Europe, and the meta was evidently slower, right? It was mid-range and up. There was not the only aggro deck that was played was Secret Hunter. That's it's kind of a hybrid actually, because it ends with Call of the Wild, right? It's hybrid at best. It's not nearly close to the Face Hunter levels of speed that we were used to seeing. So I was expecting,
there's no turn 6, you're dead.
Yeah, I was expecting similar mid-rangey pace meta, but no, these guys went some of them went full aggro. Lojam from Korea had 3 out of 5 decks full aggro, 1 aggressive tempo mage, and then Malygos Druid that can kill you at any time. And he played aggro shaman, guys. Aggro shaman is back in APAC region. They don't care that Rockbiter is still mana.
We called this. We called this after the nerfs. We said, yep, nope, aggro shaman still gonna be around.
Still fucking
they just
good,
replaced
man.
1 card.
And
Yeah, but I don't know. Like aggro is kind of the first iteration of any meta. Like it's the place where people go when they haven't really developed how to counteract it. And in that sense, if they're just gonna keep it, they're gonna get bloody stomped. Like we just saw.
I mean, Cheonsu was one without aggro that
We just saw Pavel, running Cafoon Warrior, and they go up to aggro and say, "Winax, your argument is invalid."
Yeah, pretty much.
That's actually true, man. But
so I don't know.
It was interesting to
it's interesting because it's who knows. It's always one of those things that can swing, but I'm not convinced. I'm really not.
It wasn't entirely convincing performance by the aggro decks. I actually did an article about the meta peculiarities of APAC. You can go check it on Ghost Gamers. I think it went live earlier today. Where I talk about their love of aggro. They love mage also. Man, they fucking love Jaina. 7 out of 8 lineups had a mage deck in it. I think this is the first time that has happened.
Well, there's a lot of mage heroes in Hearthstone, so
that's a lot of mages. And they played 4 tempo and 3 freeze mage decks. All the freeze mage decks were the Cobalt mage. Cabal Freeze, obviously, but the tempo mages are vastly different. Then I saw everything from having Leroy Jenkins as a finisher.
What the hell?
Yeah, Leroy Jenkins in tempo mage to a super grindy.
Fireball. What's the spell?
Yeah, it's a 3rd fireball, man. 3rd fireball is a good spell. I mean, sure it costs 1 more, but
yeah, because
it's a 3rd
apparently.
But yeah,
it's not bad, but I still think I'd rather have a Ragnaros in there.
Yeah, there were lists with Ragnaros, super grindy, Kabbalist Tome, Ragnaros, plus Antonidas, plus Yogg-Saron, all the finishers.
What?
And
Yogg-Saron?
What? Yeah.
That is okay. That weakens your mid game because you're holding on to way too much to the back end.
Dude, Cheonsu, the winner, the champion of it. I will just bring up the list in front of me just for reference to tell you what he played, and it was way grindy. Tempo Mage, there it is. So he played Thorison, obviously, but also Antonidas, Ragnaros, Yogg-Saron as finishers, plus Barnes. So if you Barnes into Antonidas,
good in Mage before the nerf. It's only really Druid that pushed him all the time.
I don't know what to tell you, man, but it did work for him because he became the champion on the back of the tempo mage. I'm not.
If you Barnes into Antonidas, then play coin, then play oh god, that is disgusting.
If you have Sorcerer's Apprentice, it just gets stupid, man.
Oh god, yeah.
But then you bounce into Yogg-Saron and you just hate yourself.
Sure, but then again, that's what every Barnes does sometimes, right? Just pulls a 1/1. Then again, you can get a Flamewaker from Barnes. You can get a Thorison from Barnes, Antonidas from Barnes, Rug from Barnes, a Sorcerer's Apprentice from Barnes, Talnos, everything, every single minion in this, except Yogg, works with Barnes, literally.
Yeah.
And
the Yogg's just there breaking, in case of emergency sort of deal.
This is ridiculous. I don't think Europe has tried Barnes in Tempo Mage yet. Then again, I haven't seen many Tempo Mages post nerf. Because I think the only one that played it at WSG Europe was Nyria, I believe. And then we had Pavel, who didn't play Barnes in his Tempo Mage list. So, but every time when there's APAC meta or Asian meta, there's always the question, is this legit? Did they just reinvent the meta? Because this has happened in the past. Some of the most popular decks in old days Hearthstone came from China, including the Asian Watcher attack way back in Druid. including Handlock.
Mhm.
Those are all decks that came from China.
Also believe they were one of the first that added Alexstrasza to Freeze Mage, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or was that different?
I'm not sure about that. But
I don't
I'm
know.
sure about the Handlock, and I'm sure about the Asian Watcher defensive tag that Druids used a lot before Strifecrow came. Like Strifecrow and Kyuki actually came up with the combo that defined Druid
And one of
Force.
the first Zoo decks, like 2 months before Reynad decided to slap
Yeah.
a title onto it, came from China as well.
Yeah, so again, but then again, there's been way weirder stuff in China that never stuck, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So every time I
Suck
see
you
this,
lock.
every time I see an Asian deck, I'm like, super excited to see if it actually catches up in the West, because whether we like it or not, the West now defines what the meta looks like at BlizzCon at least. Or this is just something that's tuned in specifically for Asian meta, or this is just a pocket pick, like a cheese deck that's just brought for this specific tournament because nobody will know how to play it.
Phone.
Chiv is back on his normal camera. So do go check out the article we published. All the decks are there, so you can see all the crazy APAC tech. Moving on to another topic.
I just learned a lesson. Apparently, my phone charger is slower than the consumption of power using Skype with video call.
My phone is slower, just normal use from the charger. I need to have it charged before I start using it.
Phones, man. We're slaves of technology.
Oh,
Yep.
God, yes.
And
But anyways, moving on to the second main topic of tonight. Stefan, you published an article yesterday that got quite the reviews on Reddit. I know you've been searching for the yet another breakout writing performance, and you've done quite amazing articles in your writing career, including the infamous inverse effort.
I don't know how the fuck I got that one as my second article ever. Like it's unbeatable. Like it's like this one has not surpassed it yet. Like I can say that much. It has not surpassed it.
But yeah, in this article, which is called "The Broken Promises of Standard," you talk about how pure Standard, as introduced by Blizzard, failed to deliver its promises, which were an ever-changing metagame that never actually happened. And you point out a couple of reasons for that, including how the stale metagame is defined by the cards that come and go, and how we have a flawed core set which has some classes lack identity. You're talking about the conservative attitude displayed by Blizzard in not being proactive enough in changing or introducing cards, and you talk about the weird April rotation that actually has some sets be present only at one BlizzCon. So I want to talk more about that. Obviously not get your opinion, because your opinion is all on paper and everybody should go check it out. It's one of the
3,000 words.
Yeah, it's a long read, but it's worth it once again. And if you are interested in how Hearthstone works, like in core mechanics of Hearthstone, it's a definitely must read. One of the smartest articles you'll read, you'll have read all year probably. But yeah, Chiv, I want to talk more. I don't know if you've read the article. I think you did, right? You said you did.
I got to go through some of it, and it was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn good.
Yeah, so the first question obviously is, now that we've established that pure standard is broken, and I think a lot of people will agree with that because they have agreed on Reddit. I got a lot of positive response on Twitter because they published it there, saying that I read it and I nodded my head all the time I read it. So number one question is, what's the first priority to fixing standard? Is it like revisiting the core set? Is it just getting more cards out? What needs to happen first and foremost before fixing the standard begins?
I think first thing that they're going to have to do is they're going to have to look at that core set, because there's just way too much power still in that core set, and that's still a lot of deck designs are based around that. The other problem they need to look at is the fact is you're taking some of these cards, which are so integral to so many deck designs, and rotating them out instantly without much of a second thought. And there was talk in the beginning when they were talking about doing this, and we might bring some cards back. We'll look into that, but this is something I think they really should have done. Coming from other card game backgrounds, if you look at Magic the Gathering, you also had the edition sets, which did bring in stuff from previous expansions into the main edition. Not a great amount, but they'd have a couple few specific cards. That way they would always hold a place within different metas. And you could always rotate that around. And what I honestly feel is like they should have done a little bit more of that specific thing. Remove some of the major power imbalances out of the core set because obviously they're problematic. And possibly kept some of the expansion stuff and, just they could have worked around with it, but I think they wanted to make it simple, cut clean, so that the average person can follow along, which has been kind of the running theme they've done with almost everything in Hearthstone, from tournaments to gameplay itself. So I just feel like this approach to everything is not always ideal, and I think that it needs to be rebalanced. And personally, I'd love to see one specific card come back, and only one specific card, and that's Light Bomb. They do that, I'll be happy. Other than that, no.
You don't want Nerobian Web Lord, which would have countered Yorkshire.
I thought about that.
Oh god, fuck yeah!
I thought about that, but then here's the other problem. Eater of Secrets technically counters Freeze Mage, and how much play does that get?
Yeah, that's true.
Yorkshire was a little more common in the pre-nerf state than...
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Mage
but I mean... I also understand why they do things like this, because if there's a really hard counter to something that you really want to be like the big thing that people are going to play with, like they designed this whole year around these old gods having all this power and this being the central design theme of a lot of decks. And yeah, 3 of them were for some time. Yasarj, we're not even going to talk about that one. But 3 of them definitely held a place at different times. And right now, the only one that's really holding a top spot is N'Zoth.
Yep.
So, and unfortunately, what they had to do with N'Zoth is they had a lot of really good death rattle in some of the previous sets, specifically off of Curse of Naxxramas. So, in order to stop it being N'Zoth in every single class, that sort of standard rotation of getting rid of some of those cards makes a lot of sense, and I do agree with that. But then there are other cards that get rotated out that basically just disabled certain classes, i.e. Priest, and made it the laughingstock of so much. Though we are seeing a resurgence of Priest, I still don't think it's enough.
Are we seeing resurgence of Priest?
Kind of, sort of. The Dragon Priest is coming back into favor and actually holding its own somewhat as a tier 3 deck. Not much, but it's somewhat holding.
I wouldn't.
I would definitely, again, repeat the issue and the worry about the core set, right? And this is something that I know, not just us, but basically everybody who's come from a TCG experience has been an opponent of, right? Going back to that boat ride that everybody knows of, that had Kibler and Renat and all the other personalities, and all that Kibler and Renat spoke, to Blizzard about this, like how core sets should not be done in this way, and then they repeated this publicly multiple times. Kibler actually made a recent video about a state of competitive Hearthstone where he repeated that just core sets shouldn't work like this, man. Like,
I think he said that like 20 times now on the stream.
I think every time.
He also commented on Reddit.
Yeah, every time Standard is mentioned, the core set is the first thing that everybody talks about, right? Because I mean, you kind of have to acknowledge how problematic it is, right? Because if you look at it, we have 9 classes, and half of those like have good identities, right? Have good core cards. We are talking about Druid has good cards, Mage has fantastic cards, Hunter has good cards, right? But then there are others in the complete opposite direction that lack power and lack identity. Both of those things are kind of important for a class moving forward. We're talking about Priest that does nothing really well. We have Paladin that also lacks identity and power.
They can summon Tyrion, and then they can summon Tyrion again, and then they can try and summon Tyrion again.
That's what Paladin does nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can send a bunch of Murlocs at your face.
And that's gonna rotate out.
Yep.
Yeah. Rogues also have like if you think about that, the whole classic set, it doesn't really,
Especially since the nerfs.
yeah, doesn't really
yeah.
offer that much, right? So every time, and Stefan was actually one of the first to write this in an article, is that every time an expansion comes, now that standard is a thing, every expansion should look to first and foremost fill holes that the core set imposes, right? So every time they will have to invent a new identity for priest and paladin, and every time they should be careful of not making druid and mage and the good core cards even stronger, which they have done now. Druid is very strong, admittedly not because of the core cards, but because of Arcane Giants and Fandral and Yogg.
No, those are
There's also another issue if you really think about it. One of the things that they have always stated is like, well, we don't really want to like nerfing too much. We want to add in new content. Well, by keeping that,
doing that.
Exactly,
we have fewer cards from like a point I brought up is we have fewer cards from BlizzCon 2016 from 2015 to 2016 than we had from BlizzCon 2014 to 2015. There is significantly fewer cards, even though you introduced
cards difference or something like this, right?
Yeah, it was
70.
70. Okay, that's
but
2 adventures worth of cards.
Yeah, because we only had one full expansion, whereas between 2014 and 2015 we had Goblins vs Gnomes and the Grand Tournament.
That's right.
Yeah. But what I was going to get at here is, all right, so we're going to take a look at the Chillwind Yeti, because this is one of the base examples that's always cited here. It's a 4-mana 4/5. For the longest time was considered one of the best 4-drops in the game. Then along came Goblins vs Gnomes. Was damn near replaced by the Mechanical Yeti, because it gave you extra value. Right? Now that's rotated out. The 4-drop slot is a little bit different now because of the way the meta is shaping, but you're going to get this point where, all right, well, now we're going back to this being the strongest 4-drop in the game, so we're going to have to always come up with something new within that slot and in that slot because we're still having this as our core set. It creates kind of a necessity of design for certain places, and I think that is a really bad thing to do.
It's very limiting, right? Because every time you design an expansion, you have to think of, oh, what restraints does the core set impose on us, right? Oh, priest and paladin are shit in the core class. Now let's fix them. Oh, as you said, they're strong, staple 4-drops and 5-drops and whatnot that we'll have to, like, if we want them out of the metagame, or at least have their popularity lower, we have to think of something. So every time you design a new expansion, you have this bane of the core set on your shoulder, right? Oh, reminding you, hey, I exist. And
because of that, you're going to get situations where you're going to almost have to constantly provide the biggest set of power to your weakest classes within that core set, which means Priest will pretty much get all the bomb-ass shit every single time. I don't think that's a really good design philosophy here in order to keep any semblance of balance.
Blizzard have been pretty adamant about not doing that with the core set and using the new players who are maybe returning to the game after 2 months break or something like this, and it's an excuse. They want to have their cards being familiar to them and not just out of rotation for some reason. But it's not a very good excuse if I'm to be honest, right?
But there's also the other argument that's been like postulated a few times on Reddit and a few other places, is that Blizzard is really holding like onto their iconic imagery on there. Like Ragnaros is an icon, Sylvanas is like a fan favorite icon, Tyrion also an icon. Though I would like to point out that Blizzard's also killed half of them in Legion, so I'm pretty sure everything's up for grabs here. So I mean, that's not a valid argument to even apply anymore.
Varian is set to be rotated out. That's symbolic, if anything.
But Tyrion's dead. Tyrion's dead in Legion, guys. Spoiler alert. Why is he still fucking coming up because of the Zoth? Oh,
because he has to give away the Ashspring, of course.
Yep. So a lucky Tauren can run around with it and then yell at large vile slimes for not spawning.
Yeah, I know it might be hard for some people to let go of these iconic characters, and maybe the Hearthstone population is not ready for this, right? When I think of a world without Sylvanas or Cairn or some of these guys like Tyrion.
Even though Sylvanas is one of the cards that need
Oh
to
yeah,
go the
it's
most.
problematic as fuck. Right,
Yeah.
it needs to go, like, just in terms of gameplay perspective, it needs to get the fuck out. But in terms of Warcraft lore, losing Sylvanas, like, it doesn't really feel good. So I don't think Blizzard want to risk it. And I think this is why they're keeping
But
it.
now hold on. Now they also showed us that they can do stuff besides that. All right. Now look, there's two prime examples that we got thanks to Whispers of the Old Gods. The new Deathwing is a prime example, and the new Ragnaros is a prime example. You don't have to just keep these cards around. You could reintroduce them with different effects. And if you look at
CCG did this all the bloody
yes,
time.
thank you. They did this all the fucking time. All right. So I mean, it is something that already has an establishment in this universe. So why not? Why not do it? I mean, shit, you could do some really fun stuff and do Corrupted Velen. That would be fun. Expand on your own lore in its own fun, unique way, little Magic Unhinged style.
Give us Sylvanas the War Chief with somewhat a balanced effect.
When it dies,
I think any other effect then just would be balanced. But another question I want to throw at you, guys, is do you think that if we had a mix of balanced seasons and rotation, which Stefan actually suggests might be a good idea, just a hybrid of those systems, will confuse players, even competitive players might not be too comfortable with too much change?
Yeah, it probably would, because you always have to design everything to lowest common denominator, i.e. people are stupid. And I don't mean to say that as being insulting, it's just the general design philosophy. You have to make things simple to the simplest of people.
Yeah. I mean, I did say you normally don't get a benefit from mixing these two formats. And it's kind of because you kind of become the biggest douchebag of a developer ever. You say, all your cards we're going to take away from 2 years, and we're also going to arbitrarily take away some of those we feel like when we don't do.
Yeah.
And Blizzard do refund them, so they can kind of get away with this better than if any other company did this, or it would be a riot if anyone else did this. But
at least in Magic the Gathering, those cards that are rotated out still raise up in value over time. So I mean,
because they refuse to reprint completely essential cards for Legacy, and meaning that there's a complete broken balance there. But
the economic market on Magic the Gathering is completely broken. Everybody knows that.
Why do they try to imitate that?
Because it's the most successful example that's out there. So imitation of something that's already succeeded.
Even up for arguing,
okay, it is up for arguing, and I'm not going to debate it. But at the same time, if you're trying to run something that has a similar aspect to something else, then mimicking that tends to work out pretty good for most people.
Yep.
Yeah. So to close the topic, standard needs to change. I think we all agree on that. How and if Blizzard are going to change it,
we'll know in a month.
See, but
yeah, we'll get a really good idea come BlizzCon, because there's going to be an announcement, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit more in depth than just here's your next pack expansion.
Well, it has to, because that was last year, right? Last year was just, here, have League of Explorers, and to their... granted, this was the best expansion ever.
It was. But let me ask this. When was the last time you saw Archthief... what's his name? Yeah, when was the last time you saw him being played?
I mean, Temple Warrior is dead, man, so he's gone now.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to talk before we close the show about WSG, which was the other tournament that happened over the weekend. We had the European qualifiers live in Kiev, Ukraine.
China, what have you done?
Yeah, it was a $27,000 tournament actually, and it came down to an Orange versus Zizo grand final, where Zizo ruled supreme. This is his second LAN championship, of the year, and he just keeps being on top of the GOS rankings for I don't know how long. I think it's like second or third month in a row. It's something ridiculous. Quite a lot of good matches. I saw all of it. Love the nation spirit idea quite a lot. I think we lacked this in Hearthstone for quite a while. We have to point out some production hiccups, some delays, and especially during the group stage phase, there were a lot of delays and big ones, to the point of that people were just leaving the channel, and there weren't many viewers to begin with, right? Because
there weren't.
This was not promoted well, even though we wrote shit ton of articles. Holy fuck. But yeah, I actually don't want to focus too much on WSG Europe. If you want to go watch it, just go find the VODs. It's not that impressive of a tournament. If you have time to watch VODs, just go watch the last calls, because there were better.
TLDR, lots of improvement can be made for that.
But it gets worse.
God,
does it get worse? From here. So, while WSG Europe went more or less smoothly thanks to Starlar, because they know what the fuck they're doing, WSG America and Asia don't have the same luck. And, Chief, I learned from you today that the Americas finals, scheduled for October 21st to 23rd, are set to be played in Brazil instead of North America, which raises a lot of logistic
for all
problems.
The Americas. It's for
for
all
the Americas. It's not North America and Latin America. It's actually just like HCT, right? It's the both Americas, North and South.
That's like playing all of the EU in Italy.
Now, hold on. This is not generally a bad idea, okay? I want to state that right now. I have no problem with this idea. What I have a problem with, however, is they picked a country that has probably the worst fucking restrictions when it comes to entering into it outside of the United States. And I'm going to say the United States is pretty bad, too, because we got some bullshit about terrorism. All right, so in order to get into Brazil, for several countries in the North and South, well, actually, South America is almost excluded from this. In order to get in Brazil, you need to have a quote-unquote visa. And it has to be a very specific visa, because they have like 6 different types of visas you got to get. Oh, and to get a visa, you can't just apply for one online or do it, or some of the other normal ways that we've been able to do for like European countries or even coming to the United States. No. You have to go to a consulate. Well, here in the United States, there are only 6 consulates. Look at the size of the United States. See the problem. So, unless you're willing to drive to one of these locations, which are generally in major cities, I will give them credit for that, you have to use a booking agency or travel agency or a visa agency, which generally are going to charge you about $300 fucking dollars. So, that still seems reasonable until you look at the time frame it's going to take in order to get your visa. So by the time that these guys won, they would have had to basically immediately send off for this visa for even a hope to getting from the United States into Brazil. Now, WESG had made statements to the players that, we're going to handle the visas, don't worry about it. So as the weeks since that event started going up and the players are asking, hey, what's going on with the visa? I haven't heard anything about the visa. What's going on? No response. Radio silent. Thus creates a panic. Now, this applies to like Mexico, Canada, North America. There's several other countries that also applies to as well. But yeah, nothing. So I can tell you right now, Frozen had to drive from where he lives to Chicago, which is about a 6.5-hour drive, and then had to drive back just to go to the consulate there to apply. And that consulate is only open for 4 hours every single day, Saturday and Sunday closed. Okay? Now, if you tried using the online, some of these agencies that charge you $300+, the wait time on this was 3 to 6 weeks to get your visa. So by the time BlizzCon was happening, so by the time BlizzCon was happening, you might get your fucking visa. So this is going to create some really big problems there for this event. And right now, I know there's a lot of people looking to try to get them to be able to play online, since they kind of dropped the ball on the visas, even though they promised the players the visas, and it would be the only fair way of doing it. But at this point, it's looking pretty sketchy, and from my understanding, maybe only half of the people who won north of fucking Panama are going to be able to attend.
All right.
So
well, that's unfortunate. But Asia has been having it even worse, man, and they've been threads and tweets the last week. You might have missed some of them, but somebody posted.
They showed up on my phone.
Let me check. I actually have the thread linked here. So Reddit user by the name of ZSongXD wrote, and I quote, WSG APAC qualifier is a poorly organized and rigged clown fiesta, where he talks about how no research was done by WSG admins to accommodate the Southeast Asia region, forcing all these players who usually play on North America, and this is wide and public knowledge. Everybody knows where Southeast Asia players play. They forced them to play on the Asia server, and which led to and you know, I've worked with Southeast Asian players a lot for 3 years now, and I can tell that there are a lot of honorable and sportsman-like people there. They're just, you know, they embody the good spirit of competition, but there are a lot of fucking assholes there as well. As in kind of like in every region, right? I don't want to single out Southeast Asia for that. And what happened, according to this guy's post, is that in many regional qualifiers, there were players who just had better collection on Asia than their opponents, and they just abused this rule to get free wins. Well, this led to just the best players from Southeast Asia not even bothering playing this, right? So I think in the post he singles out Philippines is the only country where everybody agreed to just play it on North America, right? Because, well, they're apparently good guys, but in many regions there were these kind of problems. He points out that admins were, in addition to that, slow and responsive.
Well, there's a lot of different language barriers that they have to overcome in that too, so that's problematic.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't speak any Asian language, and I've been administrating Ghost Cup Southeast Asia for 3 years with no problems.
That's because you barely speak English. That's your one saving grace.
Yeah, English is only my second language, right? I barely speak it. But it's not that difficult to work with Southeast Asian players. You just need to put on some hours of research, and not just like a full day. Just, hey guys, which server do you play at? And everybody will say North America, right? Or ask fucking Blizzard, like Blizzard Southeast Asia. They will tell you. But China has also been a clusterfuck as well, and there was a tweet by Sin, Team Celestial's manager, who said, again, I quote, WSG China qualifier is a fucking joke. Different yeah, he doesn't beat around the bush. I love Sin, man.
I need to go. Is he still in Germany?
I don't think so. I think he's... I might be wrong, though. But anyways, WSG China qualifier is a fucking joke. Here. Different number of players in groups, round robin, best of 3, the ultra combination of the worst formats. And hey, this sounds like WCA every year. So I'm not even fucking surprised. This is like...
Yay! Yeah. China!
China! Woo! You did
it's
it
like
again.
They literally took the handbook of how not to run a Hearthstone event. Page 1, look at WCA. Copy what they do. Step 2, ignore Reddit. Step 3, ignore Twitter. Step 4, prepare for your ass to be reamed over social media.
Oh, God. Yeah, so best of 3, man. Like, we even WCA 2015... while keeping the different number of players in the round robin with 7 or 8 players, which was ridiculous, they still had the decency to upgrade to best of 5 compared to their 2014 edition, which did all that Sin is mentioning. So WSG was like, okay, what do we do now? Let's better fucking look at 2014 Hearthstone in China. And you know, copy this, because this has obviously worked out well in the past. Let's just copy
2014 in China, considered to be the biggest fail in Hearthstone events ever.
Yeah, so
it's like Hindenburg spectacular fail here.
You know what?
If you don't know what that is, go Google.
This might actually be
Europeans.
This might actually be the year where WCA shines, because compared to WSG,
oh my God! Why?
What? It's I
it's the American election of Hearthstone.
You know, oh God, yeah.
No matter who wins, we all lose.
It's like, in the end, we'll just see which one is the Trump and which one is the Clinton, right? That's but again, I know that people have this, you know, impression of me that just like hating on stuff. I really don't. I mean, it's good. It feels good to lash out at people and organizers, but I do prefer to see good tournaments. And every time I hope that, I mean, I'm far from the illusion that Chinese organizers listen to this show or reads what we write on Ghost Gamers, right? But if they did, they would know fucking better. Even if they didn't, they could just look at any other tournament. Even within China, there are well-organized tournaments like Gold Series that are the fucking, you know, gold standard of tournaments for this region, right? Just look at them, dude. Just don't do stupid shit. Don't it's every time I hope, like, every time I tell myself maybe this year they will learn. So I had these hopes for WCA 2015. Maybe they'll learn. They didn't. It was a clown fiesta of an event. WEC was one. WCA 14 was one. So I having hopes again for WSG and WCA in 2016. We'll both see them at the end of the year. I'm not sure about the dates yet. I don't think they've been announced, but I think they're both in December, if I'm not mistaken. And both WSG is in Shanghai. WCA is... I am not sure. But anyways...
I was going to say, I'm going to laugh if he tries to pronounce this.
I'm not sure. No, I just don't know. I will know how to pronounce, but I just not sure.
The biggest thing here is, like, I've been trying to follow the logical path of why they're doing it this way. I mean, if they were trying to do something that had never been done before and shown to be a failure, then I could give them at least some credit on this. Hey, they're trying something. They're being inventive. I like that. It may not work, and we all can tell it's not going to work, but still, they're taking a chance. I can appreciate that. But they're not. They're literally copying from the shit that does not work.
Yeah, this was the same thing like with WEC, sorry, 2014. They had this very bad 9-deck format, right, where you could have repeat decks of the same class. Now this doesn't work, but they did it once. Everybody saw this was not working, and they abandoned it. Like nobody else tried it. Dude, and it was this was like okay. Something positive came out of it, right? They wanted to do some experimentation. Experimentation failed. Moving on, right? Again, we've said about this about Vigame. Like it was very possible that it wouldn't work. Like people could have get bored from the long big band phase. Maybe didn't enjoy the 9-deck format, whatever. Like it could have been just as easily a failure, but it wasn't. So people copied it, and it became good, right? But again, like as you said, Chief, like WSG just, you know, hey, what's a shit format we can deliberately copy? Oh, WCA 2014 sounds good. No, just again, come to us, come to us, give us
planning this to fail.
Come to us, give us a month's salary, and we'll just do it, guys. Just.
All right. It's time for the tinfoil hat here, guys. I want you to think about this. It's almost like they're trying to plan for this to fail, as if they know they're not going to be able to meet a certain obligation that they must have to do. So could this be yet another chapter in the, hey, big event in China, nobody gets paid?
Well, I think both all of WC and WCA paid, albeit with big delays, right? I think all of the money are paid.
But it's always, and then some of that money got confiscated at the airport too.
You know that when this much money are put on the line from Chinese companies, there's always something shady, right?
That's half a cost. Like I don't even think Gold Series can pay them that.
Oh yeah, and Gold Series are NetEase's own brand of tournaments, right? It's like
I don't even think Blizzard hold events could pay out foreigners that quickly, because it's just not easy to get money out of China. Okay, there are processes that need to be done and procedures and all that kind of nonsense. But still, the fact that was it YCA that had to pay, that was lacking payments in June or something.
Oh yeah, I think they had huge delays, like half a year or something maybe. But yeah, we'll see at the end of the year how these Chinese events will go. I'm excited. Maybe it will be good. Probably it won't be, but you never know. We
could also see some changes at the very end, because that's also been something that we've seen happen before with these Chinese events.
That's true. Maybe they will listen to feedback. Maybe they will listen to sense from whether it's Blizzard China or just regular Hearthstone people. Just fucking listen, guys. We know.
Maybe they'll walk into a street post and suddenly get a clue.
Yeah. But anyways, we will end the show here. Thank you so much for joining us for the 60th episode. This was, our 60th episode anniversary. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time on _TV_HS. Subscribe to the channel to know where we go live. And you can also find the show at YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and ghostogamers.net/Hearthstone. Follow us on social media. On Twitter, you can find Stefan at Sumadin. You can find Chief at LG_the Chief. Well, I have your super old Twitter
Yeah!
highlight. Jesus, I didn't. This is an old overlay, so it's LG_the Chiv, and you can.
Oh,
find
I
me.
saw it right away. I just wanted to wait and see how long it took you to figure it
Yeah, it's
out.
only an hour and a half almost before I recognize it. So, and you can follow me at GGNidra. Tweet us about the show. Tweet us about your opinions about anything, and come join us on Twitch chat next Tuesday. Until then, just have a nice week and enjoy the last call America's qualifier, which will be on October 15th. See you next week.
Later.